How's it going, everybody? It's Eong here, and welcome to a Death Stranding news update. The following information comes from Comic-Con 2016, and Hideo Kojima went live with Jeff Keighley to talk about the Kojima Productions logo, Ludens, and a little bit of Death Stranding, and I'm here to basically summarize all that information and share with you guys what's new. So, the whole panel began with Jeff Keighley asking Kojima about the Kojima Productions logo, and basically he talked about the concept of Homo Ludens, which was proposed by this scientist from Netherlands, and I believe he's talking about the guy who wrote the book called Homo Ludens. And according to Kojima, the concept that was proposed is that the more we play, the more we evolve. And that's sort of the philosophy behind the new Kojima Productions, which is why he chose the term Homo Ludens, which is why he called the mascot Ludens, and which is why Ludens looks the way he does. And speaking of Ludens, they did a slideshow presentation on how Ludens went from conceptual stages to the final version. And basically, Kojima gave Shinkawa an idea of what he wanted, and then he sort of tried different things out. The first concept sketch was a bit too combat-oriented, and then it went too far to the other end of the spectrum. It looked too much like a spacesuit. And then they finally got something in between, a combination of a knight and an explorer. And all of this is meant to symbolize pioneering spirit and using the latest technology to traverse the unknown and stuff like that. After the slideshow, Jeff Keighley sort of sneaked in the question if Ludens is Norman Reedus' character, and Kojima once again emphasized that this is not the case. In fact, he told the story that even when Norman Reedus asked Kojima if his character would be wearing that spacesuit, Kojima told him that would not be the case. So basically, he just keeps emphasizing Ludens is not related to Death Stranding whatsoever, and he just said Ludens will not be in the game. Again, I don't know if I believe him. I feel like he said it too many times now. Maybe he really is telling the truth, hard to say for sure. It's just that the face inside Ludens' helmet and inside the mask looks a hell lot like Norman Reedus. And when asked about the face inside the mask, Hideo Kojima stated that that's actually his face. Apparently, during the World Technology Tour that Kojima took a couple months ago, Kojima went to Sony to test out the performance capture technology, and that's when his face was scanned, and we actually did see images of this in Kojima's Twitter. And the reason the face looks so different is that the face was modified because Kojima was creeped out by the fact that it was actually his face staring back at him from his mascot. So they modified it a little bit, and apparently that's how Ludens' face came to be. Again, I'm not sure if I believe him, because he did something like this with Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, where he said that the third person in the hospital was himself when it was actually Venom Snake. So, who knows if he's lying or not. I personally feel like he's lying because, again, there's just so much effort being put on Ludens. They made a whole freaking logo movie about him, so I feel like there might be something there. And speaking of the logo movie, I thought it was really cool. A lot of people were disappointed that this was essentially the trailer that Kojima was talking about, but honestly, I was not expecting Kojima to show yet another Death Stranding trailer. I mean, it's only been like a month and a half since E3 2016. The game's still in very early stages of development, and I honestly don't think you should expect new footage of Death Stranding until maybe next year, because Kojima's still choosing his engine. He's between two engines right now, and he is close to narrowing down the engine that he wants, but he hasn't actually made any true in-game assets. The trailer that he showed did run in real time in one of the game engines that he's considering, but according to Kojima, this was all part of a visuals test that he's doing. But he also emphasized that what we saw is an accurate representation of the final product, that we will see the scene from the trailer in the final game. But anyway, Kojima keeps saying that Ludens is unrelated to Death Stranding, that he's just a mascot, but hard to say if he's really telling the truth. So after Kojima showed off the Kojima Productions logo movie, they talked a bit more about Ludens, and he once again reiterated he won't be in Death Stranding as a character. After that, they showed off some Ludens action figures, which I talked about abundantly in one of my previous videos, so I'm not going to talk too much about this. Now, I will say that I noticed that the new character's action figure wasn't there, so maybe Kojima isn't ready to talk about him yet, so maybe that further confirms that this is some kind of new character that Kojima's working on, whether it be for Death Stranding or, I don't know, another mascot. frankly, I think it is something related to Death Stranding, and maybe that's why he's not ready to show that yet, because Jeff Keighley would surely ask about that action figure, which would place Kojima in an awkward position. So I think maybe he decided I shouldn't have the action figure here in the first place, so people won't ask questions. They'll just sort of wonder by themselves. And speaking of Death Stranding, that's where the topic headed next, and Kojima began by stating that he was overwhelmed by the positive reaction. He was nervous at first because all the trailer really shows is a middle-aged man holding a baby, and his team was concerned that people wouldn't like that, and especially with the competition that they have at E3 2016 with all these major titles with these epic trailers, they were concerned whether this would actually appeal to anyone, but Kojima was glad to find that the reaction has been very positive. And I think part of the reason why the reaction was so positive is because the trailer is so strange, so unlike anything else out there. It's so unique and it just gets people's brains churning. So kudos to Kojima for an awesome trailer. I'm certainly looking forward to finding out more. Then, when Kojima was asked about how Norman Reedus felt about people's reactions to Death Stranding, Kojima said he was very happy and that he looks very motivated now. The topic then shifted to the status of the game's development, and Kojima stated they're still doing tests. The big thing right now is deciding on an engine, and once that's over with, they're gonna move on into full development. But basically, he said that the teaser trailer was created as part of their visuals test, and on a second engine, they're actually doing some tests for gameplay, so he's still just trying to figure out what he can and can't do with the technology that he currently has. Kojima also emphasized that the teaser trailer was rendered in real time, as in you could actually go into the engine and then just walk around the trailer as the scene is unfolding. It's not CG like a lot of people think. These are graphics that could possibly be rendered in-game. And according to Kojima, through the visual tests, he's sort of figuring out what kind of world can be visually expressed, how much of the gaming elements that he has in mind can they actually implement, and just these are the kind of things that they're learning through the tests. Kojima also stated that right now he's at a point where he can kind of see where all of this is going. He's beginning to see sort of a path, and all they have to do right now is again settle on an engine and start full development, and that should be happening pretty soon. Then, when asked about some of the themes of Death Stranding, he basically talked about the stick and the rope, connections and whatnot, and when asked about gameplay, he talked a bit about how he wants to implement the equivalents of ropes alongside the equivalent of sticks that most people are used to in games, like guns and whatnot. But again, he just didn't elaborate further on that concept. He said he can't say much more right now. Then, after further inquiry on what Kojima's doing right now in terms of game development, in terms of the script and whatnot, he once again said he's doing tests, but he's also working on the plot, feeling out the setting for the game, he's doing some character design, and just basically a lot of the preliminary phase stuff. In terms of the script, he said that's also in preliminary stages because he still doesn't know how much of the elements he has in mind he'll be able to fully implement. So the script has no specifics yet. There's no specific dialogue that has been written, and things just keep changing. He's still sort of molding things. Kojima was then asked about the genre of Death Stranding. Is it sci-fi? Is it horror? What is it? And Kojima simply said he doesn't want to attach a genre to the game. And the reason for this is because he wants them to think about what the genre is, what the story is, and just have them develop their own ideas of the game. The topic then shifted back to some of the technology tests that Kojima has been doing with the game engines. And here's an interesting analogy he gave. He said, let's say that the game has some kind of scene where you see a tsunami sort of ravaging a city, and he emphasized that this scene is not in the game, this is just an example. Kojima said that in his technology tests, he would have to determine how big can the tsunami be, how big can the city be, and how much of it can be washed away, how much of that can be shown in real time, what's the speed of processing. And he basically said that this is akin to what kind of test he's doing right now, just seeing what's possible. Last but not least, Jeff Keighley asked some fan questions, and one of the questions was again about the themes of Death Stranding, and more specifically, if there are any social issues that Kojima wants to tackle with this game. And Kojima thought very carefully about his answer because he didn't want to give anything away, but he basically said that the game is a different time and a different world, in a manner of speaking, but what you experience in the game will relate a lot to the feelings and problems that everyone has in the present day. He said that it will look like something from a different world at first, something that has nothing to do with you, and then as you keep playing, it will end up feeling like something that is associated to society and what you experience in daily life. And that pretty much concludes everything that Kojima had to say about Death Stranding, the Kojima Productions logo, and Ludens. Thank you for tuning in. So, a lot of things were said, not a lot was truly revealed, but I think a lot of people should have expected that. This is Comic-Con, it isn't like E3 or anything, but still a lot of little bits of information that we can take and think about. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts and theories about Ludens, whether he's actually going to be in Death Stranding, because Kojima keeps saying that's not the case, but again, hard to say what to believe and what not to believe, especially with the new Kojima Productions logo movie. Frankly, I think it would be a shame if they didn't use Ludens somehow, because the character design is so freaking cool. But anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think, and to be further updated on Death Stranding news, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!